someone who, when he tried for the debating society of his law school, it's one thing, and that is why perhaps what I'm going to say, what I'm going to be talking about, I will get to the art of advocacy part, but because all of you who are here, who are starting out and going to begin this journey, or maybe you are somewhere in the middle, you have doubts about your capability, your place in the world, let me share with you my story of how I walked into the debating society tryouts. I sat there in the back and I did not even get up and give it a shot. I was one of those law students who was horribly afraid of standing in front of a group of people and speaking about anything at all. And this was not the case just in law school, even in high school. I remember, again, I always had it inside of me to try and give an attempt to debating, to being an orator. And even in high school, I remember there were about 7 applications for a debating society of 5 people from our classroom of about 50 people. And I was one of the 2 people who were not selected. In college, I feel partly somewhere because of my failed attempt in high school, I did not even try. What is really funny though, is that one of my batchmates who did give it an attempt stood up there with utmost confidence when he was asked to talk about the topic of euthanasia. He confused it in our first year of law school. He confused it with capital punishment and went drawling on for about 5 minutes about why capital punishment is bad and should be reconsidered. But everywhere he used the term euthanasia. I knew the meaning of euthanasia. I kept laughing in the back. Yet, despite seeing the blunder committed by this friend of mine, who, by the way, now is in a very, very senior position in one of the top 3 law firms in this country, I stood there, I tried to get up, but I still could not do it. Yet, I did get my opportunity about 2 or 3 years later, when I finally summoned the courage to try out during the moot court days. And at that point of time, I found a fair bit of success where I was able to convince the faculty to send me to events along with my peers. And even at the moot court competitions themselves, I made endeavors and on a couple of occasions made some decent progress as well. Even after that, when I went into practice, into advocacy, for several years, I still grappled with fear at the idea of public speaking. And perhaps this is the little distinction between debating and advocacy, where in the art of advocacy, the only people you need to focus on is the judge sitting in front of you and the opponent who is also trying to make his submissions, cut you off, and preventing you from cutting him off. People watch in the back, but because your back is turned to them on most occasions, you will be unfazed by what is transpiring behind your back. However, when you go for debates, you are going to be facing on one hand your opponent and on the other hand the entire crowd, which you need to make a compelling case in front of as well. So for several years, I still grappled with the idea. And then when I was invited on a couple of occasions to give presentations, to talk about the things that I had learned in the few years of my practice, with a lot of effort, with a lot of summoning of courage on my part. I was able to go stutter, stammer, and barely make my way through those presentations, those talks. I am not sure whether today, in the past 2 years of not having addressed any gathering in the physical space, I can still count myself as one of those people who can stand and deliver a small speech without my knees buckling. Because for the past 2 years, all these speeches have been delivered online as well. But just before the pandemic, the lockdown started, on a bunch of occasions I did stand there and I could feel relatively that the knees weren't buckling so much. So I am hoping that just like riding a bicycle, I can get back to it when the occasion rises in the near future, hopefully. The reason why I took out this much time to give you a little bit of an background into how I dealt with it was because I don't know how many of you will relate to it, but I am sure there will be few of you who are in this Google Meet, who are watching us on YouTube perhaps, or who might watch a recording of this later. There will be a few of you at the very least who do not have the confidence in themselves to say that I can get up and I can address a gathering. That fear can be crippling, but I am here to tell you it is never too late. You may be in your final year of law school, you may have graduated. There will be a time if you keep at it, if you just practice a little, and if you also lower your own standards of to what extent you think you need to perform, you will be able to stand up and deliver, at least to, if no one else's satisfaction, at least to your own satisfaction. You will be able to deliver, and be that kind of person who stands in front of maybe the judge and the opponent, or maybe in front of a crowd, and who is able to make an impact.